speaking about what are the top laptops that you should be using if you are a software developer. So let's jump right into it, guys. There's going to be so many different options that you would be, lucky to use, but at the same time, I feel like it does depend a lot on what type of outcome you want, what kind of objective you want. That's going to be interesting. So right now, what we're going to do is jump right ahead, the best laptops for programming. And really, guys, we are dropping fire content on the daily. It's insane. We're making crazy builds next week, coming up on, actually this week on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We're going to be building WhatsApp and also Amazon and YouTube. I believe it's not Amazon. One of those. I have to double check it with everything. But at the end of the day, it's crazy top tech companies that we're helping you dissect so that you can build them from the ground up with the MERN stack. And Sunny and David are going to be teaching you that. So make sure to like the button if you guys are really enjoying this type of content. Also, if you guys are enjoying it and you kind of want to keep up with us because we're going daily, not stopping for anybody, is smash that subscribe button and that like button as well. So let's carry over, guys. To go into more details about what type of programming computer you should use, let's read a little bit about here. Yep, we already built Amazon Myris. Nice, man. People are noticing what type of builds we're leaving. We're putting live for you guys. That's amazing. And yep, so the end goal is pretty much what's going to dictate what type of laptop you're going to be using for your career as a software developer. Let me open up my pointer right here. So this is you are a developer, and let's say you want to build, I don't know, maybe Android apps or iOS apps. So if you're using Android apps, the cool thing about it is that you can either use Windows. I used to program for Android on Windows. That was pretty cool, but at the same time, it was setting up the coding environment on Windows was a freaking pain in the butt. It was insane. But if you do want to do maybe iOS development, you are going to need a Mac. So depending what you want to do, you're going to need a different computer. Android, you can use both because you can develop Android on Mac, so that's pretty cool. But if you want to do iOS development in Swift, you need a MacBook computer because that's the only way that you can actually download Xcode, which is what you use to write Swift. That's not the text editor, but the IDE. If you want to build games, you might maybe want to use, you can use different ones. I've seen people run actually, what is it called? The C# engine, Unity engine. And you can use it either on Windows or Mac, I believe. But ultimately, this as well, if you're a gamer, you're probably going to want to use Windows because we also use those same laptops for other specific things, right? So it's not just coding, and it does affect the experience of coding if you can't, let's say, play a YouTube video or something as simple as that. So, you want to build, whether that's Windows apps or Mac apps, then at the same time, it's going to, dictate whether you use Windows, Mac, or even Ubuntu. In that case, I know a lot of companies use Ubuntu, what are they called? The virtual machines instead of their Windows, just to actually, make it easier for them to develop in using a Windows computer, but using the Ubuntu operating system. So, all right, guys, this is how I'm feeling right now. We're going to go into the best laptops that you guys can actually use. And remember, guys, the end goal that you have in mind is going to dictate the type of laptop that you're going to use, right? You're going to do Swift, you need Mac. If you're going to do Android, you can use Windows. If you're going to do anything else, you could just use either Windows, Mac, or Ubuntu, but it does depend. So going back into this, guys, one of the most important things, in my opinion, is just because of the fact that you're going to be staring at code for a long time, man. It's some coders code for about 8 hours to 10 to 12 to even more, 14 to 16 hours a day, depending on what project has to be, whether that's, it has to be finished, it has to be just worked on, or you have to co-work or what is it called? Dual coding with somebody else at the same time. Excuse me. So most laptops already come with a 16:19 screen ratio. That's the regular ratios that Mac computers use, actually. So that's something to take into account. I normally never see just squared 4:3 screen ratios, but I see this one allow a lot now popping up, because a lot of times, yes, we have a laptop, but what we do is that we actually connect an external monitor, just like this one. And the 21.9 ones are going to be a little bit more kind of like the LG, widescreen ones that are maybe the 27 inch, the 32 inch, and then even the 34 inch. So in my opinion, 16:9 screen ratio is the most important one that you should get, and all Macs are done with that screen ratio. So, and yeah, Jimmy Mendes said peer programming. Yes, pair programming is what I was thinking about. So thank you so much for that, my man. People are on top of it. I love it. How many monitors are recommended? I'd say 2, man. At the same time, you can have 3 or so, but I just feel like those are too much. Maybe 3 if you have a big setup, but if you just want something minimal that actually, raises your efficiency, I say use 2 monitors instead of just 1 monitor. So the screen size, talking about monitors right now, is going to be very, very important. I didn't even list anything under 13 inches just because I think it's so hard to look at those screens. It's insane. Like the 11-inch MacBook Air or the MacBooks, man, they're so annoying to me. I can't even believe they're real computers. They look like toys to me. But the 13-inch, what I like about it is that it's very, very portable. You can take it pretty much anywhere. It's insane, like you actually do feel like it's a laptop that you can take while traveling. But other than that, if you're thinking about the 15-inch, I don't think it's much of a huge difference. I know that, you are able to feel the differences between the 13 and 15 because 13 is just so small in my opinion, but it's also kind of decent. But I think like, man, if you are coding a lot, you're not going to want to look at that small screen. So 15-inch to me might be the classical one, the one that would fit most cases for you, either that, whether that's traveling, whether that's, just in general, just coding somewhere. Also the 15-inch is beautiful so that even if you want to make graphics or watch videos or do design like UI, UX design, it's better than looking at a 13 inches. And in my opinion, the 16-inch MacBook Pro is really, really good. And I just want to say that this video is probably going to be a little bit biased just because I've used all 3 types of operating systems and I've had experiences using Windows. I grew up using Windows, then I switched to Mac. And I grew up also using Ubuntu because I would have a dual boot with Ubuntu and Windows. And it's cool and everything, so I will dive a little bit deeper into that as the video goes along. So, one of the things that I did want to say is 15-inch is the preferred one for most people, and 16-inch is kind of perfect in my opinion because the bigger the better, screen-wise at least. So off the bat, we're going to talk about RAM. I'm seeing a lot of these laptop videos where people talk about RAM not being so important because of code. RAM is the most important thing if you want to open up more than one, softwares or programs at the same time. Man, what are you saying, bro? Like, I even get mad, to be honest with you, because it doesn't mean that just because code is so lightweight because it's text doesn't mean that you don't need that much RAM. There's also, fun being thrown around about a few IDEs that just eat up all your RAM. But dude, Google Chrome eats up all your RAM. So if you're programming for a living, that pretty much means that you're on your computer most of the day. And, going back to RAM, if you cannot use your computer to entertain yourself, whether that's maybe Netflix, if you want to watch Netflix every so often, or even YouTube, or maybe you're like, oh no, I'm way too productive for that. I don't want to even do YouTube. Then whatever you're using, man, Pinterest, whatever you're using, Dribble for inspiration for your design, Envato, anything like that, it's going to be, affected by the size of your RAM. So right here, I did a little bit of an explanation of the DDR RAMs. So right now, DDR2 are not even really used. All we're using right now on the more modern computers is going to be DDR3 and DDR4. But now even DDR5 is out, and I believe DDR6 is out. And the faster, the newer the RAM is, the faster it's going to be, really. So make sure that if you do buy a computer right now, make sure that it is at least DDR4 and up, because it's going to affect everything. Let's say you're just, coding in your Visual Studio Code, right? And then you got maybe Dribble open up as inspiration because you're trying to, copy a design or something like that. Maybe you're using the inspect tool in a Google Chrome, web page. So you have like 5 Google Chrome tabs open. That is already eating up your RAM a lot. So if you have less than 8 gigabytes of RAM, that is just gonna kill you. I wouldn't recommend anybody that is doing programming to have less than 8 gigabytes of RAM. I'd say 8 gigabytes of RAM is going to be the very, very least that you can have. Just because, I mean, I see it and I see the differences and it's insane. So right here, I put a little bit of the difference. I'd say 16 gigabytes is really ideal in my own opinion. So, going back to RAM right here, you can see the differences in speed between 8 gigabytes RAM and 16 gigabytes RAM. So off the bat, you can see that, the bigger the bar is, the more time it takes to load. So here is an example of the gray one is going to be 8 gigabytes RAM, and then the green one is going to be 16 gigabytes RAM. So lowest HHD with so they're actually testing hard drives with SSDs, right? So this is the RAM with the lowest hard drive option, and SSD is better with that. Sorry, 16 gigabytes is better with that HDD hard drive. So you can see the same here. Even if you have this lowest SSD, if you have 16 gigabytes of RAM, this is how fast it's going to load. If you have an ultra high, HDD, which is a hard drive, then you can see here that the 8 gigabytes is actually going to be faster than the 16 gigabytes. Wow, this is interesting. So ultra HDD, these are actually popping up a lot, and they're going to be pretty new. So game and hard drive settings, ultra HDD at 16 crashed, changed high texture to low texture. So using ultra HDDs and SSDs, apparently the actual difference is not that huge. But if you're using lowest or mid-tier SSDs and HDDs, then it's just apparent. I mean, I honestly believe that even here, just because of the fact that 16 gigabytes of RAM, you can have more random access memory to open up more programs. Just by nature, it's going to be faster. So I'm not completely sure about these specific experiments right here, but all in all, you can see that 16 gigabytes is going to be way faster than 18 gigabytes. This is an example right here too of the difference between DDR4 and DDR5. So even though they're not so many years apart, it's going to be kind of crazy to know that DDR5 is almost, 15? Almost 10 gigabytes faster than the DDR4. Yeah, if you're using the 1.36x type of hard drive, right? So this is the speed. This should be megabits, if I'm not mistaken, or gigahertz, sorry. And 1.87, the DDR5 is about, so this is 15, this is almost 30. So this is almost double as fast, DDR4 versus DDR5. So like I said, the faster models of RAM are going to be the ones that you're going to want to go with, just because if you're still using DDR3 right now versus the laptops that are using DDR5, the thing is that software gets updated really fast, and the newer that it is, the heavier that it's going to be on your actual machine. So make sure to get something that's kind of time proof, okay? So I know that maybe the DDR3 RAMs are going to be, maybe you can get a 16 gigabyte DDR3. I would still advise you to get maybe a 8 gigabyte RAM with a DDR5, and that would be better for you, actually, in my opinion. So, that's a little bit about RAMs. Let me see what you guys are doing here. So, how much RAM is needed to do all stuff fluently? Abhinav Singh asked. And in my opinion, man, let me actually pop this comment here. So, I think it's, let's get it from this screen and put it. Actually, cannot pull it, but let me see. It says Abhinav Singh. So I think to do stuff fluently on the computer, at least you need 16 gigabytes of RAM. If not, man, it's just going to take you so much more time. Your computer's going to get frozen.